Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Babbling by the Brook. I'm Mark Hobie, Paper Mill's producing artistic director, and tonight we are recording the program with a live studio audience, so to speak, with our loyal family of Paper Mill subscribers watching from their homes. And I am absolutely thrilled to introduce our guest. She was the first Best Actress winner of Paper Mill's Rising Star Awards, and her career has only exploded from there, with 11 Broadway credits, a Tony Award, multiple nominations, 2 Drama Desk Awards, countless starring roles on TV and film, and more. Not to mention her upcoming solo concert in our subscription series on November 14th. Please help me welcome now the inimitable Laura Benanti. Hi, Laura, how are you?
Hello, good, how are you?
I'm great. It is so good to have you here with us and to spend a few minutes with you talking about your long connection with Paper Mill.
Yes.
And then also your incredible career. But you come from a theatrical family.
I do. My father is an actor and my mother was an actress and is now, a world-class voice teacher. And I've recently convinced her to perform again. She and I do concerts all over the country together now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So she hadn't performed in 35 years. And after my daughter was born, I had her come out again.
So obviously singing is part of your upbringing and must have been in your house all the time. Is your daughter picking that up as well?
She really is. Not only does she sing all the time, but she is like a director. So all day, every day is imagination games, but she's very specific about how she wants me to do it. It's really, she actually legitimately said to me the other day, "Mommy, I don't believe that you're mad," while I was playing an evil queen. Yeah.
That's hilarious. And how old is she?
She's 3.5.
Oh. So she's an opinionated, driven, passionate woman.
Yes.
That's exciting. That's good.
She really, really is.
I believe your first connection to Paper Mill was the Rising Star Awards. Is that right?
Yes. As I heard you talk about, my long standing relationship with Paper Mill and then my career, there wouldn't be one without the other. Like I wouldn't have the career that I have today if it were not for Paper Mill Playhouse. And that is the absolute truth. That is not me. That's not hyperbole. That is not me like blowing smoke. It's 100% true. You all came to see my tiny high school show. I was playing Dolly Levi and Hello Dolly up the octave. I was the only person in that show who cared about what was happening.
What school was that? It was near
Kinnelon High School.
Kinnelon.
We don't have an arts program, or we didn't then, to speak of. And Susie Spidell,
right,
was there, and that you guys you all plucked me out of this small, tiny town and gave me this incredible award, and then ultimately recommended me for my first Broadway show. The reason that I was able to do The Sound of Music at 18 years old was because when Jay Binder, the casting director in New York City, called Paper Mill to say, "Do you have any Liesels for me?" Paper Mill said, "We do." And I was 17, I auditioned. And instead of casting me as Liesel, they cast me as the understudy to Maria. And then when Rebecca Luker, who played Maria, when she left, I took over the role opposite Richard Chamberlain. So that would not have happened were it not for Paper Mill.
Well, you're very kind to say that.
I'm not kind, it's just true.
Okay, well, it's great to hear. But I have to say, we have to thank you too, because, you're very, very gracious in the way you constantly give the credit to Paper Mill for that, the beginning of your, start. You certainly brought the talent to the table. We didn't invent that, but, it's important for us too. We claim you as one of our own, and especially since you were the first ever winner of the Rising Star Award, which I believe for Dolly, you were a junior.
Yeah, I was a junior.
And you mentioned it, but for those of our audience who know, Carol Channing was the original Dolly and kind of was, I think, a tenor.
Yes.
So, but in those days with high schools, they didn't rewrite the keys or rescore anything. So you said you sang it up the octave as a soprano.
Yeah, well, Patrice Menzel, who was an opera singer, she had done it, and she did it up the octave. And so, I was like, I'm gonna raise the roof. I'm gonna carry on way up there. I mean, I saw a video of it recently and I was like, this is bonkers, but it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But really, I really mean it when I say, and thank you for the kind compliment. I do believe that I came to the table with, you know, some talent, but there are millions of talented people in the world and they don't always get the opportunity. And it's because of you all that I did. So.
Oh, that's kind. But and you came back, and I believe you did a New Year's Eve concert for us one year.
Yes,
And
when I was a senior in high school, I did a New Year's Eve concert there. I sang I Could Have Danced All Night. Patrick Parker was like, you are going to sing I Could Have Danced All Night. You're going to play this part if it kills me. And it took 23 years.
but then you did it in the Lincoln Center revival.
Yeah, I did. Well, when they first revived it, I had just had my daughter Ella. So I didn't feel like I could be the best mom, or the mom I wanted to be, and frankly, the Eliza that I wanted to be at that time. So then when Lauren Ambrose, who played the role, once she left, they came back and said, how do you feel now? And I was like, I'm ready. I can do it. And, you know, I turned 40 years old playing that part.
No way.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You
So,
look
you know,
amazing.
well, thank you. I feel 100.
Well,
But
that's because you have a 3-year-old
exactly.
and a career.
Exactly. But, you know, I'll never forget Patrick Parker saying, he's like, you will play this part. I know you will. And, you know, I'd honestly I'd made peace with the fact that I wouldn't, you know, because I was turning 40 and that was it. And I just feel so grateful that it came back around.
That was a beautiful production. I mean, really, really special. And actually, one of our subscribers, we have a couple of questions from our subscribers. One of them was asking about that Lincoln Center revival. Joe was asking, you know, it was a classic, but the ending was changed,
Yes.
right? And how did you feel about that? It's such a golden age musical. And, you know, how did you approach it? And what was that whole experience and moment like?
I'm going to be honest, this is a controversial response, but I was a little bit sad about the ending.
Interesting.
I think because I understand why it needed to happen. I really do. I understand that in the moment that we're in particular with Me Too and Time's Up, you know, that a woman staying with someone who treated her so badly was maybe tricky to watch.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I sometimes feel with these revivals, it's that we're not co-signing. We're not saying by putting on this show, we're saying this is how people should behave. You know, we're simply saying like, this is what was during this time. And what's so brilliant to me about, you know, Pygmalion and the original Shaw, although in Pygmalion she did leave, but the ideas of classism and sexism were really so ahead of its time, so ahead of their time. So it felt very modern to me in that way. But Harry Haddon Payton, the gentleman who played Higgins, he was so transformative in sort of his guilt and his feelings of regret that it was very hard for me as the character to leave, because I could see on his face how terrible he felt for how he had treated her, you know?
Yeah.
So it was probably pretty powerful for the audience to see how much she wanted to stay and couldn't. But I was torn. There were some days where I was like, yeah, this is great. And there were other days where I was like, I want her to stay. So
Well, you played it brilliantly and got a huge ovation storming up the aisle of the theater on your way out of the play. So that was exciting. But let's back up a little bit, because in between Hello Dolly at Kinnelon High School
yes.
and the Lincoln Center revival, you've had quite a career. You know, after the Rebecca Luker replacement in Sound of Music, which must have been amazing at 17 years old, playing opposite Richard Chamberlain in this lauded revival. I mean,
Well, at that point I was 19. But
oh,
yeah.
19.
Yeah.
But still 19.
Yeah.
Incredible. And then Swing, for which you were Tony nominated.
Yeah.
An incredible production. Into the Woods.
Yeah.
The revival of that, in which you played Cinderella opposite Vanessa Williams and another old paper mill friend, Chris Sieber.
Yes.
And Sondheim, you know, there's certainly the Pygmalion, Lerner and Loewe, My Fair Lady, but what was it like being in that production of Into the Woods?
I mean, Sondheim, I say I really, really like musicals, but I love Sondheim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his music to me, that's really where my sort of deep love of musicals was born. So to work with him was incredible. Um, you know, it was just a dream come true for
I
me.
think he's also, for a thinking actor, for an
Yeah.
intellect, for really, not that musical theater people aren't intelligent, but for
No.
super cerebral actors,
Yeah.
his text is so rich and deep. You can constantly mine and mine out of it. I think
Yeah.
that's so special. Then, of course, you played nine
Hmm.
opposite Antonio Banderas.
Yes. And
Um,
Chita Rivera.
oh, right. And Jane Krakowski.
Yes.
That was a wonderful show. And I love that song that she sings.
Oh, me too.
Another sort of tortured love song, a woman caught between a man maybe she shouldn't be with, right? And talk a
Yeah.
little about that show.
I mean, that was such a remarkable experience to be in the company of all of those women, you know, and the love that was felt between us was pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
Mary Stuart Masterson and Chita Rivera really led the charge with that. They're women who love other women. And, you know, we would just go sit in Chita's room and just like sit at her feet and she would tell us stories. And um, yeah, it was pretty amazing, pretty special.
She's been very kind to us too. She's been here a few times and saw our recent revival of West Side and was very appreciative of our, salute to the master and Jerome. But when you talk about, and you've worked with quite a few of them, we're going to talk about another one in a minute, those grand dames of musical theater,
Yeah.
right? She is her Angela Lansbury, and then of course, Patti LuPone, who you won your Tony Award playing Louise opposite Patti LuPone in Gypsy, which I think some people talk about it as kind of the perfect musical, and certainly it is up there. I absolutely adore it. What was that experience like? I mean, first of all, the role itself is incredible, right?
The role is remarkable. To be able to transform from sort of like an emotionally abused 12-year-old girl to one of the most powerful women in the world,
Right.
and hit all of the levels in between. It's one of the most exciting things you can do as an actor, that kind of transformation. And to get to do it with, Arthur Lawrence, who wrote the musical, to be directed by him, and then to go toe to toe with Patti LuPone and Boyd Gaines 8 times a week. It was probably the highlight of my career. I don't know if anything will ever meet that again.
Well, I'm sure you will have many things that match it, but it will stay
I don't know.
special probably in
It
your
was
life.
really, really
I mean,
special.
she is a powerhouse. She is a force of nature, and Boyd too is amazing. But I can't imagine standing on stage opposite Patti LuPone and what was that like the first time you were rehearsing or working with her?
I was so nervous, but she's so generous. She loves actors,
Yeah,
and she's one of those people too where you'll have to be like, Patty, your back is to the stage. Like they can't see your face. She is egoless when it comes to that. She's just living in the scene,
right.
and she knows that you're only as good as the person you're playing opposite.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
she does everything to make you your best self.
she's been an advocate during this time for artists and the arts,
Yeah.
and using her voice literally and figuratively
Yes.
to talk about the need of musical theater and performers and just art in our lives. And she has been such a force in the theater community. And I think you're right. She loves the work. She loves actors. She loves the process. I'm sure she can be a challenge too, because she wants only the best. But
Yeah, I mean, I think she's a challenge to people who don't come in with their stuff together. You know what I mean? She
yes,
expects a certain level of excellence if you're
right.
on Broadway.
Yeah,
And if you don't meet that, she's going to be frustrated.
yeah.
But
And
I think she gets a little bit of a bad rap sometimes, but I frankly think that a little bit of that is sexism. She
yeah.
came up as a strong woman at a time where that was maybe not the thing.
And she was young. She was very young when she started too,
Yeah.
and had to make her way. And I mean, Evita was not her first role, but that was a major undertaking, and she was very young then.
But I can't tell you how many times you know, if I've noticed in rehearsals, if a man asks for something directly, he's just fighting for himself. He's an advocate for himself. But if a woman asks for something directly, forgive my language, she's a bitch.
Right.
And, you know, I think that Patty unfortunately suffered some misogyny in her career. And it's because of women like her and her specifically that my generation is able to say, like, no, that doesn't work for me. And we're able to say it kindly. Because that's the thing too about being a woman in these situations is you ask and kindly and no one's listening to you until finally you scream and then they go, well, look at her. And I'm like, please don't make me behave this way. I don't want to act like this.
You just want to be heard.
I just want to be heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you had the opportunity to work with her again.
I did on Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown.
Right. Which must have been another incredible experience.
Well, she is my family. She really genuinely is my family. She's one of the people I love most in this world. And I know she would do anything for me, and the feeling is very mutual. So to get to play with her in smaller roles, we had like the whole thing wasn't resting on our shoulders. So we got to really play and have fun. And that was a delight. There was one moment where we would just laugh. It would happen every night. We would laugh at the same time.
That's so
The
funny.
audience didn't know, but we knew, and it was really fun.
Interestingly, talking about Patti LuPone, one of our subscribers, Lisa, says, has there ever been any talk about you and Patti LuPone doing a revival of Candor and Ebb's The Rink?
Yes.
Oh, there has?
Yeah.
Well, Lisa's ahead of the game. Do you
Yeah,
think that might happen?
I mean, I would love for it to happen.
Sheeta and Liza revived by Patty and Laura.
I mean, it would be pretty magical. I think, you know, nobody knows the state of theater and, you know, what it'll be when we come back. But man, wouldn't that be a cool thing to come back?
Yes, amazing. So you also did The Wedding Singer, In the Next Room, the revival of She Loves Me. But before we run out of time, I want to talk a little bit about your television career as well, right? I think your first major one was Eli Stone. Mm-hmm. But I remember one of my favorite shows ever was Nurse Jackie.
Yeah.
And you were the other woman or the next woman, I remember.
I was the next woman, yeah.
But also Playboy Club.
Mm-hmm.
Go on with
episodes.
You were a terrific Playboy bunny.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Go On with Matthew Perry.
Mm-hmm.
Nashville, where you got to actually sing, right, with Connie Britton. How was that? And who else was in that?
Hayden Panettiere was in that.
And was Will Chase?
Will Chase, yeah.
More Broadway people. I mean, that must have been a great way to bring all of your talent together in a new medium too, right?
Yeah, and the challenge of singing in a true country style and not sounding like a Broadway person singing country music. And I learned to play the guitar for that. I played and sang live, actually, one of the songs, which they normally don't do. Normally it's pre-recorded, but it was sort of an emotional thing that needed to come out of a scene. And so it was really challenging.
Was that a new journey for you, the country part of it? Yeah. Was that in your background at all? Or
no, I'm from Jersey.
Me too.
Yeah, I like Patti LuPone, and I'm from New Jersey, so yeah. I knew really nothing about country music, but it was really fun to do.
And South Jersey is not quite far south enough.
I'm North Jersey anyway.
Okay, and then Supergirl with another Paper Mill family member, Jeremy Jordan.
Yes.
Right. How's that?
It was a great experience. It was super fun. You know, it was such a weird thing to be just like hanging from cables and punching. And it was, you know, obviously a departure from my other work. And
one of our other subscribers, Pete and Barbara, were talking about how you approach prep for, they were talking about a straight play versus a musical. But I would say, what's it like your prep in the process, doing stage work as opposed to like TV or film?
I mean, my process is similar in a musical and a play, you know, because I approach songs as text. You know, I really, for me, when the most satisfying musical performances are ones where you go seamlessly from talking to singing, where there's not this feeling of like, and now I'm going to sing a song, you know, where it all feels like character work. And then in terms of stage versus the camera, it's really more of an energy. Because when you are on stage, you're obviously trying to reach a larger body of people. So the energy that you exude is going to be more. It's going to go out. And then when you're, you know, acting for camera, It really is an energy of pulling them in, of bringing them to you. Because any false move on camera really reads. The camera is like a lie detector. So if you're not dropped into what you're saying, if you're not really feeling it, the camera can tell.
Maybe your daughter Ella Rose is really a TV director.
I mean, she's something, I'll tell you that.
But also, was it an adjustment for you? Because part of the communication and the excitement of live theater is that dialogue with the audience. And then when TV and film, there's no audience, there's no reaction.
That was really hard for me in the beginning. That and not really being able to use my full body as part of my performance. I was so used to like something you do with your fingertip can say something.
Right.
You know? And then all of a sudden, if you're in a close-up, it's all about what's happening right here. So that was an adjustment for me, for sure. And then also the editing process. When you're on stage, you have control over your performance.
Right.
When you are in TV or film, they can cut it up in whatever way they want. And sometimes they'll even use a shot that has nothing to do with that moment. A reaction that you had to something else, and they'll use it and you're like, what? So that's been really challenging.
That must be shocking a little bit to have performed something and have felt it. And then when you see it, it's almost someone else's interpretation of what you're doing.
Yes, very much so. But I do, because I know we have to go in a minute, but I do want to plug, so I have an album that's coming.
I was going to ask you, yes.
It's my very first studio album. It's self-titled. And then also in mid-December, I'm executive producing a show for HBO Max called Homeschool Musical Class of 2020. And it's a documentary starring 7 graduated high school seniors from all over the country. And we interview them and they perform, and it was all shot remotely. We sent them all of the cameras, and then we were able to zoom in director, producers, cinematographers, choreographers to guide these kids to create their own performances with their friends and family.
I have to tell you, that is amazing. And giving these kids in the middle of this pandemic and this moment, especially for performers who are stuck at home, I feel for recent college graduates and high school kids, and to give them that opportunity and that platform is amazing. You are so wonderful. And I want to plug your concert here on November 14th. And will you be singing some of your things on your album?
I will sing a few songs from my album, yes.
Great. Anything else we can look forward to?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do Sound of Music, and I'm definitely going to do Danced All Night, because those are 2 songs that have meant a lot to me my whole life.
Well, Patrick Parker will be very glad to hear that you have come full circle in the Paper Mill family from Danced All Night to Danced All Night. And then I have one final question to ask you, which is, I know we've seen you quite a bit on the Stephen Colbert Show.
Yes.
Late at night, and I was wondering if you would give us a little insight to how Melania is feeling about the upcoming election.
Oh man, she's just excited it's almost over.
I think we all are. Thank you so much, Laura. It's so special to talk to you, and we are all so grateful to have you as part of the family and to, continue our relationship. And all the best. And we look forward to seeing you right here on the 14th.
Yes. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us and for supporting us here at Paper Mill Playhouse. If you'd like to get tickets to Laura's concert on Saturday night, you can visit our website, papermill.org.